it's from the Krishna temple. I said, you let these people into the house, these Krishna people? And she said, yes. I said, but we have no room. She said, well, I gave them my room, her room. And I said, but where will you live? She said, well, I will live in your room with you. I was very disturbed. I said, how much money are you charging them? She said they didn't have any money. So I gave them for free the room. I was very disturbed. I didn't want those people there. I didn't want my wife in my room. And she was not charging any money. But Hansaduda was very, very beautiful, very kind, very patient, he knew, and he gave me Srila Prabhupada's book. The book that he brought from India with the reddish cover, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. And I began to read the book, and it said to read patiently from beginning, not to jump haphazard. So I was reading, I was doing yoga at that time, physical yoga, happy. I'm sitting in the lotus posture and reading out loud to myself. I had a feeling in my heart that I never had before. It was like closest thing I can say, like a mild orgasmic feeling, but in my heart. So I thought, I have to meet the person who wrote the book. So I went to New York. Actually, my mind is going blank. What is the name of Nathan? What is his
Narayan.
Yes, Narayan was in Srila Prabhupada's room at that time. I think Gargamuni was there too. And they were discussing how they were going to design and create buildings, temples in New Vrindavan. And they were all sitting there around Srila Prabhupada discussing, and then they were all gone, and I was alone with Srila Prabhupada in the room. And somebody put some banana prasadam in my hand, which only 20 minutes later on the street, I opened my hand and there was some squashed banana prasadam in my hand. I was so, Srila Prabhupada's presence was so powerful that all I could do was fix my attention on him. And it was like being in another world. I don't understand exactly how to explain, but it convinced me that this person knows something and I want to understand what he understands, because I believe that this is the person I want to learn something from. And I decided that I'm going to become initiated. So I did. I told my wife, I'm going to get initiated. And she said, but this man says that God is blue. I said, it didn't matter to me, these things. I could understand that this is a special person. I've never met anyone like this, his energy. To be simply alone with him in the room, I cannot describe except that it was like what we call Vaikuntha. And I knew in my heart that he knew something, and I want to know, and I'm going to become his student. And and I did. and I'm still his student, and little, beginning to understand what he has to share with me. I mean, there's different levels of understanding. One level is philosophy. Philosophy is one way of understanding, but to understand the experience of Krishna consciousness is another level of understanding, and little, I think I'm beginning to, I'm very slow, but I'm feel very encouraged, and
this is wonderful.
So, yeah. You were there, Narayan. You were there in the room.
You were raised as an atheist in your family, right?
Say again?
You were raised as an atheist in your family.
Yeah.
So was I.
Right.
So was I.
I think
what
it's
background
a blessing.
did your family have? What is there?
In some ways, I think it's a blessing because the people who have spiritual training is not pure devotional service. Is all motivated with thinking that God is the big Amazon.com in the sky.
So
you place
Ishan,
your order.
What religion did your family have before they became atheists?
Well, they were Jewish people, but they had no religion, but they identified themselves as being part of the Jewish culture. And I don't know what to say. It's not worth it.
I was from a Jewish background also.
My father their family came from Russia. At the early 1900s, they had what we call, they have a hunting season where I lived here in New Mexico. Open season. It was open season for hunting Jewish people in Russia at that time. Ukraine. So they came to Canada.
That's amazing. You're actually saying that Jewish people could be legally hunted?
Well, I'm using sarcastic language, but they were giving them a very bad time, enough to make them leave the country. I don't know the details.
Well, that's interesting. Yes. My father was from a rabbinical Jewish background in Warsaw, Poland. And he was born in the same year as Srila Prabhupada, 1896. My mother was from a different sort of family. She was his assistant in WPA mural projects. And one thing led to another. Can you see my face while we're talking?
No.
Okay, that's just as well because I'm eating something. So she was already basically an agnostic, and she stayed an agnostic, but agnostic very, very much on the doorstep of atheism.
Yeah.
I was delighted not to be raised in a religion. I saw all my friends. I read tons of books on history and religion and stuff like that. And the more I experienced and the more I read, the more I realized that going to church or synagogue or anywhere is not a good idea.
Jewish people are very, they think they're the chosen people, that, and they have The Jewish people believe that they're superior to other religions.
Superior.
Jewish people.
I didn't hear that, Rupaji.
He's saying that the Jews think themselves to be superior to others.
That's the way I was raised. They were atheists, but they were very proud of being Jews.
Okay,
And,
okay, I understand. Right. Basically,
Anyway,
body
But
conscious.
it's
Yes,
nice to know. I mean, that we have another basis for bonding again.
after 40 plus years.
Oh, yeah.
1970. Oh, when was the last time you met him, Narayan Prabhu? Do you remember, Ishan Prabhu? Do you remember
Yeah.
when you guys met?
1971.
1971. Wow. Wow.
But
Ishan,
when, do you remember, Ishan Prabhu, when we used to go out on Sankirtan in New York City? And it was deadly
Yeah.
winter, and we were dressed like Eskimos, except for me. I tended to go out in sandals and a dhoti and not particularly warm clothing. But everybody else, Nayana Baram, I remember. You remember Nayana Baram from New York?
No,
Well,
no.
anyhow, if you remember him from the winter, he looked like a snowball. And you were there. And we went to Washington Park,
Huh.
out to the park there in front of the university. And we had kirtan. Very, very nice kirtan. I have to say, I was leading it. But even if I weren't leading, it would have been nice kirtan. But it was a Prabhupada melody, of course. So at that time, I recall you aiming your trumpet at the wall of the university and playing kirtan, playing the kirtan melody, and the people shot their windows open and they were hanging out. And they really were fascinated that we were chanting Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Particularly in the winter, in the snow. Do you recall going out on Sankirtan in New York City?
Little, not clearly. But
Well, anyhow, it impressed me totally. And I've never, ever
Hare-
forgotten you since.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
You know, I've always considered you one of my most sincere and deeply philosophically rooted godbrothers. And now after you described the Jewish background, and after you described the kirtans, and how you've been raised basically as an atheist, I realized then that our bonding went even deeper. Now I would like our bonding to go on the absolute platform.
Right. I think, we're children of Srila Prabhupada. So we're like a family. And and we're headed
Well, at
in the
least we
same
were
direction.
mammals. We required to be fed. And so we were fed. That was really wonderful. But it wasn't the Montreal temple, it was the New York temple.
Yeah, I was there a little bit.
Yeah.
I had 2 questions. Hare Krishna, sorry to interject.
No, please.
Oh, you're welcome.
So what percent of Hare Krishnas were of the Abrahamic faith? And Ishan His Grace Ishan Prabhu, how did your parents react to you becoming a Hare Krishna
Hmm.
and
Not a Hare Krishna, devotee of
and
Krishna.
yeah,
Got it?
and
Not a Hare Krishna. We don't become Hare nor Krishna.
yeah,
We're not Radha
and
nor Krishna, but we become devotees of Krishna.
yeah, and I think
And
they're like correct because you guys are intelligent, so we would obviously pick up the most intelligent scripture in a way. So yeah.
are you Jewish yourself? Prabhu?
Oh no. Oh no, no.
No, okay. It's very difficult for most people to understand why Jewish people would take up Krishna consciousness. But
Yeah.
particularly when the only exponent of Krishna consciousness is a man in his 80s, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
But you asked the question, may I answer it? It doesn't work necessarily for me, but it does work in terms of Jewish people. And that is that we are not from Catholic background, which would mean that we were dealing with the post guru stage, and we were. Can you see my face now?
Oh no, your video is not on, but
Good. I'm eating.
yeah, the Catholic background are like not as liberal as the Abrahamic.
Exactly. So
Can I
the
ask a
situation with
question?
the
Yes,
Abrahamic
go.
is that we're used to even the Reform Jews, what to speak of the conservative Jews, and what to speak of the Orthodox Jews. They are
Can I ask?
these. Yes, go ahead.
My question is, I'm new to your meeting. Do you read the books together? How do you have? What is the format of your meeting, or is it just general talking like we're doing?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
I'm asking, what is the format of this meeting? How
The
does it
Zoom
work?
call? The Zoom call meeting? Well, generally, we're all on with our faces on, coming
What
in
I
and out of
mean
the
is,
meeting.
what is the nature of the meeting? Do you read the books together?
Oh, no.
Do you,
Our nature of the
you don't?
meeting is very simple and very direct. We are doing
then
what
what-
you did at the very beginning. We're taking people who do not think that Prabhupada is the Uttama Adhikari, pure devotee of the Lord, who can deliver us and bring us back to Godhead. We're taking those people and asking them to reflect on their initiation. I mean, how can you be a devotee without holding Prabhupada as an Uttama Adhikari who came from Krishna Loka on Krishna's direct orders to deliver you and me and others? What would be the process if it were not this? You get it?
I'm not sure, but so you don't read scripture together. You don't have like
Well,
a
this is for
class.
people who have, you see, there's tons and tons of people out there, tons and tons of gurus out there, so-called gurus out there. And we're dealing with only those people who want to see Srila Prabhupada as the Acharya for the next 10,000 years.
So we agree on that.
I'm
So
sorry?
then next step,
I'm sorry?
satsang.
Satsang?
I think we agree. We agree with what you're saying. What I mean is, but
Well, I think the things that you write
to associate with it,
tend
each
to
other,
reflect
I'm
what
think-
I'm saying right now, no? Everything you write
I
is
would like,
something that I wish I had written. Simply because it expresses what I feel and what I think in your words, not mine. Does that make any sense at all?
it makes sense, but I was thinking that when we come together, we read Srila Prabhupada's books and we try to understand and maybe discuss our understanding of what Srila Prabhupada is saying, Bhagavad Gita or Nectar
Oh,
of
yes.
Devotion.
But I mean, this is for people who have. Prabhupada said that the number one purpose of his having written books is so that we will chant. The books are a verification of the order by Lord Chaitanya to chant. So we're bypassing the books. Not that we are bypassing. We want to read the books, but not together. We want to read the books for our own illumination. But at the same time, we want the books to be, that's not the purpose of this meeting. If it is the purpose of this meeting, it means we're looking for initiation by Prabhupada, in my opinion. So we don't chant japa on this. Did we play the kirtan this tonight, Ramachandra?
No, we did not play the kirtan.
Okay.
But because we're just getting Ishan Prabhu on, and I was on the road. So, anyways, let's continue the discussion, Prabhu, that
Sure.
we're
So you
having.
can open your heart, open your mouth, open your mind, and let's connect on the transcendental platform of surrender to Prabhupada. Okay, let me ask, did you ever reach a point where you understood that Prabhupada was a pure devotee of the Lord, and that if you surrender to him, you and anyone you speak to will go back to Godhead?
well,
Did you come to that point? From what you write, it seems that you did.
Srila Prabhupada's my spiritual master. My understanding is that he's the Shakti Avesha avatar, and we relate to him, as we say, Shakshadhari, Tvena Samasta Shastra, Uktastataba Vyataiva Sadhu, Kintu Prabhoja Priyaiva Tasya, Vande Gurus. We accept Srila Prabhupada. I was listening to one lecture this morning where Srila Prabhupada says, we accept him as God. Of course, he says he will not. He said he said some surprising things. He said, if you love me, love my dog. He was saying that he is the most obedient servant of Krishna and a confidential servant, and our love is meant for him. And that if you love somebody's dog on the street, then the person is very pleased. In the same way, Krishna is very pleased if we love Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada
Well, that's very
is
beautifully put.
Krishna's
That's
very
beautifully stated.
confidential.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah,
So,
go ahead.
sure. But, I mean, that's your impression of Prabhupada, as also I have, my own but similar impression of Prabhupada as well. But we're dealing with people in the world who now have 3 levels down gurus. What do you think of that?
I'm not sure what you're asking. You mean like the ISKCON people?
Yeah. I mean, people come, they're told, here is your guru. His big butt is sitting on the asana. And if you bow down to him and ask him, he will deliver you from repeated birth and death, or else.
Well, I was reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada in the 10th canto, where Srila Prabhupada talks about how Krishna, when he came, he was in the heart of Vasudeva and he was transferred to the heart of Devaki. And Srila Prabhupada said a very surprising thing. He said, this is initiation, this is Diksha. Diksha means that, he says, it's a heart-to-heart connection with a pure devotee who has Krishna in his heart, and he can transfer Krishna to our heart. He says, this is the meaning.
What about Devaki's heart?
Yes, he did. That's why
and then Krishna was born from Devaki.
Yeah.
And then we got the benefit of that whole transaction, right?
So you were asking me how I understand Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada said in that purport that the spiritual master, in answer to your question about these other gurus, that the spiritual master must be someone who has already Krishna in his heart 100%. Otherwise, how he can transfer Krishna to your heart? So the person who
so you're saying
the role
that the spiritual master has Krishna in his heart, and thereby, by speaking, by chanting, by simply sitting there in saffron cloth, he is actually transferring Krishna to you, whether or not you're fully consciously aware that that's what's happening. Would that be an accurate
No, I'm
statement?
not saying that. No, I'm not saying that.
What are you saying?
Devotion, in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 12, Srila Prabhupada makes the point. He's explaining that Hiranyakashipu is talking to Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes.
It's at the end of chapter 12. And he says, association is like a crystal stone, meaning like a mirror, reflects, meaning our heart must be like a mirror. He says, and so that association is like a crystal stone that reflects whatever is placed before it. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point in that chapter of Nectar of Devotion that if we come in touch with a pure devotee, what he emanates, his spiritual energy, prema bhakti ahaharte, from him, Krishna, love of God, love of Krishna emanates, like light emanates
and that's
from
the point you were
sunshine.
making earlier, right? That because
Right,
in the heart.
but Srila Prabhupada, you asked me that simply by whether we know or not, will we pick up that emanation? But Srila Prabhupada says that unless the heart of the devotee, the disciple, is completely clear, the reflection will not be there. So
That
we
raises
have
an
a
interesting
job.
question. Prabhupada initiated thousands of devotees, some of them personally, and the rest by officiating acharyas, meaning temple presidents or people like that, or priests in the temple. And then the question arises, how pure does the officiating acharya have to be, or does he have to be pure? Can he simply
He has to be 100% pure, but he also makes the point that the student has to be 100% pure. He gives another example
Okay.
in Nectar of Devotion. He says the relationship between the spiritual master and the student is so intimate that it's just like a man is making a woman pregnant. That's right there. It's the last paragraph in chapter 12, Nectar of Devotion.
Okay.
He says, if the man is potent and the woman is healthy and pure, there can be conception. And this is the relationship between the student and the spiritual master. So we know that Srila Prabhupada, we all accept that Srila Prabhupada is potent. Now, in order for conception to take place in our heart, what is that conception? That we will also become, that we will receive Krishna consciousness from him. That we have to be pure enough, because he can give Krishna consciousness in 1 second if we can receive it. So this is what he's saying. So he says that both the student and the teacher must be bona fide.
Okay.
So,
So
and
now
all
let's get
those
to
people
Prabhupada.
who were
Let's get
initiated.
to 1966. What made the students bona fide when, particularly since lots of them fell down shortly after initiation? What was the bona fide-ness? How did that work out, in your view,
It
in your
didn't.
understanding?
It didn't work out.
It
They
did
weren't
not?
bona fide. No, it didn't work out. Because
So you
what
mean
did
there's only
the
one or
thing?
two disciples of Prabhupada that he actually initiated?
I'll read you the last sentence that Srila
Okay.
Prabhupada wrote in his preface to Bhagavad Gita. And it is, to give you an idea. The
I'm
last
ready.
sentence in the preface is, we hope that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, a real devotee, we shall consider our attempt a success. In other words, Srila Prabhupada, he's giving us all a chance, an opportunity, but very few in Srila Prabhupada's estimation and expectation will be able to take advantage of that. If one person becomes...
Okay, I got that. But what about all the others? Thousands of
What
devotees
about-
took initiation. What about them?
Yeah.
Do they get any benefit or not?
Yeah, they
From
get
initiation.
benefit.
What is
Some
the
get
benefit?
benefit and some go to hell. It
Well, that's
depends on
true.
what they do
It
with that
depends what they do. I would
opportunity.
say if they go to hell, you need to be talking about Tamal Krishna or people like that. People
Well,
who poison Prabhupada.
Etc. They to think that we know that there's so much documentation that Srila Prabhupada wanted that he should be the Acharya and all Diksha should be done, that new people would become his students. We know Srila
Exactly.
Prabhupada wanted that.
Exactly.
So
But he didn't require,
for
he recommended or he asserted that intimacy needed to be there for the initiation to be bona fide, heart to heart, like Krishna, like Vasudeva to Devaki, and Krishna to Vasudeva and Vasudeva to Devaki. That's fine. But in reality, there were lots of people that didn't have that heart to heart initiation, which I agree is the vital ingredient for perfection.
I tell you the truth.
Okay, you're telling the truth.
Amongst-
Now, what happens
No,
to
no.
all the others? What, I mean, so many. When
Srila
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada says again and again in his books
what?
that Srila Prabhupada makes the point, as you remember, in his books, that whatever little progress we make, even if we fall down, when we pick up again in this life or next life, we'll continue from that point. May take many, many lifetimes, maybe thousands.
That raises that's brilliant. And I totally, there's no part of that statement do I have any disagreement with. It is perfectly understood in my point of view. For I'm coming from, that would be a perfect understanding. Now, here comes the tricky part. Who becomes their guru in the next life?
Srila, I think Srila Prabhupada has made the statement that he comes back until all of his students are liberated, go to Krishna Loka.
Now, when you say comes back, do you mean physically? In a body?
I don't have, I can't, there are things that I won't pretend that I understand. But I'm just doing my best to
Yes,
advance
of course. I'm not trying to put you to the wall by any means, because what you're saying is resonates in my heart in a very beautiful way. But I'm trying to consider, does Prabhupada need to be here in his physical form, or was his physical form an isolated form, such as you might get from Moses or Jesus or Muhammad or someone like that, who comes once and then we have to pick up the pieces from there?
I believe, based on our books, based on everything we say, I understand that Srila Prabhupada gave us the understanding that he will be the guru for the next 10,000 years, or at least he said.
Where do you get that? When you say that that's for what you believe, where do you get that belief from? Where do you get that teaching from?
Well, I don't think that far ahead, but I do know that Srila Prabhupada said that the Ritvik system should go on and that everyone should be his disciples. That means that whether he's walking on the planet or not makes no difference.
Okay, and how does that work out? I mean, all these people want to be living gurus. They all want to say, Tamal Krishna is my spiritual master, even though he poisoned Prabhupada. I don't know if you are into the fact that I did enough research to believe, or not believe, but to clearly understand that Prabhupada was poisoned by 3 or possibly 6 or 7 of his disciples who had been convinced that Prabhupada was senile, and that if senility became known, all of his books would be exposed as fraudulent. That's what Narayan Maharaj and Tamal Krishna came up with. I heard Tamal personally say in about 1974 or 75, clearly stated to Shyama-Sundar, who probably will deny the conversation, that Prabhupada is old and senile, and that if he continues on, he will destroy all the good works that he has done by, drooling on the Vyasa-san or something, and being unable to speak or reason. Now, of course, it never crossed my mind once that Prabhupada was senile, but it did cross my mind that people like Tamal and Narayan Maharaj hoped that he was senile, or were counting on it, or wanted to give the impression that he was senile so that they could become successor gurus. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. I think that
Well, are we in their
it would
shoes?
be better for them that they never came in touch with Srila Prabhupada, and that I can't imagine what Krishna will do with these people. I can't
Oh,
imagine.
Krishna's with everybody. He's with the mice. He's with the mosquito that bite you. Krishna's everywhere with you. If you have pancreatic cancer, he's right there chomping away. So, or at least he's there facilitating your liver being chomped away, pancreas being chomped away. So, I mean, Krishna's always present, but he's not always present in a way that we can see him or understand him. Now, may I offer a thought? Ishan Ji, Prabhu?
Why not?
Okay, on the Jaladuta, Prabhupada said the most extraordinary thing, considering the Bhagavad Gita. He said to Paramatma, make me dance like a puppet on a string. In other words, he was quite ready to give up his autonomy as a jiva. And Prabhupada says in the Gita, and I'm sure you remember better than I, which verse, chapter and verse, so probably chapter 2, but that Prabhupada said clearly that Krishna is in the heart of every jiva, and there he appears as Paramatma, in one case an active bird, in the other case a passive bird. And I've gone into considerable research on that, but this is not necessarily the time to go into it further. But the thing is that if Krishna, if the jiva gives up his autonomy to Paramatma, then the jiva becomes the passive bird, and Paramatma becomes the active bird. And as Krishna becomes the active bird, that's when he becomes the Acharya and can speak in behalf of Krishna as though he were Krishna. And the person speaking, obviously, is Krishna. Because when Prabhupada said, make me dance, the person dancing is the jiva, Srila Prabhupada, like a puppet on a string. Yes, even more so. But who is making that puppet dance? Excuse me. That's Paramatma. So do you see, it reverses the role. Now the Paramatma is the active bird, and Paramatma, the jiva, excuse me, the jiva is the passive bird. Does that work for you? Ishanji
I'm not
Prabhu.
100% sure what you're saying, but from my understanding is that we're all like puppets on a string. The only difference is that the pure devotee realizes it, and the non-devotee thinks that he is in control. But actually,
Well, that's a good observation. I'm not sure that's the observation that Prabhupada made when he said, make me dance like a puppet on a string. He didn't tell that to every jiva, because all the jivas, individually or collectively, egotistically, because the jiva, until he's purified and 10% surrendered to first Prabhupada and then to Krishna, the jivas are greedy takers. They want, and even when they become devotees, they think, great, this is how I'll get what I want. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But
you
in the
mean
case
we're
of
not pure
Prabhupada,
devout?
he said, I don't want to be the active jiva. I want to be an inactive jiva, and I want you, Lord Paramatma, to be the active agent or the active person in this case. So that when so-called Bhaktivedanta person speaks in New York or India or Africa or anywhere, when the so-called Bhaktivedanta person speaks, it's actually Paramatma speaking through him and simply using his body, his tongue, his hand, his gesture in order to become essentially Krishna, in the sense that Paramatma is Krishna, and the jiva wants the other jivas of the world to understand what Paramatma wants from all of us. Does that make any sense to you, Prabhu? Or is it too complicated right now? Huh?
No, it's fine. I think you're telling me that when Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada is completely surrendered to Krishna, he becomes Krishna's instrument for teaching us how to open our hearts to Krishna again.
Yeah, that's what he does, in my understanding.
Yes, of course.
Great. Well, if it's in your understanding, then it must be true. If it's in my understanding, who the hell knows what it is? Okay, that's very nice. So, so you remember the verse in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita as it is, where Prabhupada in the purport describes that there are two birds. One is active, one is passive. And he points out that the active bird is the jiva, and the inactive bird is the almost bored to death Paramatma, who's waiting for orders from the jiva. Give me shoes. Give me guns with very good shoelaces. Give me underwear. Give me pants. Give me a dhoti for special occasions.
Srila Prabhupada gives an example that when a man takes his dog for a walk, and while the dog is passing stool, the man is waiting patiently.
Yeah.
So
I'm puppy sitting my older daughter's puppy. It's part dachshund and part Chihuahua, and wonderful dog, very wonderful, very spiritually oriented dog. But that's when I take the dog for a walk. My building has special walkways for dogs and dispensaries, so that you can get bags to pick up dog stool with and put it into a bin.
So Srila Prabhupada makes the point that just as the man is taking the dog for a walk and watching the dog pass stool, Krishna is with us as Paramatma, watching us do all our nonsense, birth after birth.
More than watching, because if we do take into account anything that we do in any birth is based on our karma, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that if you are a dog, you have a different karma than if you're a human being. But if you're a human being and you're desiring, who is it that is supposed to satisfy your desire? Would you say?
I didn't understand your question.
I
didn't understand.
So if the jiva is embodied in a body, human or otherwise, sorry about that, is in a body, human or otherwise, and the jiva wants something. Supposing the jiva wants a cup of coffee, supposing the jiva wants a roasted pig. I mean, I'm talking about non-devotees. What if the devotee jiva wants some sweet rice? Who is supposed to be the order supplier of these desires? I'm asking.
What do you mean? Who is supposed to be? What do you mean?
I'm sorry?
What you're asking me, I don't understand.
Oh, okay. Do you ever have a material desire? Maybe not. But if you have a material desire,
only material desires.
okay,
I'm
so
full of material desires.
who is supposed to? Now you can work very hard to get that full material desire granted to you, but in reality, who supplies that material desire?
You mean who fulfills that material desire?
Yeah, if you have a material desire, who fulfills it?
Well, Krishna fulfills all desires, spiritual and material.
Yes. So isn't it Paramatma in the heart that if you say, I want a gulab jamun, and Paramatma in the heart says, you're going to have to drive all the way over to a temple to get one, because if you go to an Indian shop, it won't be a very nice gulab jamun. So you do. You go to a temple where presumably they cook in ghee, and the gulab jamun is wonderful. Or you say, I'll settle with an ordinary sweet shop, Indian sweet shop, and take it gulab jamun from there. You see, but in either case, isn't it Paramatma who satisfies that desire?
So Paramatma understands our sincerity. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita.
What about our insincerity?
He also supplies for our insincerity.
I can't quite
According
understand
that
what you're
is,
saying. What are you saying?
Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, from me comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and intelligence.
Yes.
So, according to the sincerity in the heart of the individual, you and me and everyone else, Krishna knows how sincere we are. If we're sincere, he gives us intelligence how to do.
Sincerity, you can sincerely want to eat a piece of meat. So how do you distinguish
No.
that sort of sincerity from spiritual sincerity?
No. If we're sincere to become a devotee again.
So this means that you've already taken your vow to surrender to Krishna through the diksha that you received either from Prabhupada directly or from one of his appointed officiating acharyas, which in the old days was a temple president like Hansaguda. You get what I mean? But what about the people that are not devotees? Are they not also guided by Paramatma?
Yes, everyone's guided by Paramatma.
Bingo.
According to their sincerity. Somebody who wants to go back to Godhead, Krishna gives them the intelligence, and someone who wants to be independent enjoyer, Krishna also gives them intelligence how to do that.
I agree 100%.
Srila Prabhupada says, if you want to be a cheater, Krishna is the biggest cheater.
You know,
He will give us.
you
He'll
can't
give
you
us
can't
anything.
cheat in a way that Krishna cannot outdo.
Hey,
If you want to cheat, I'm going to be the
Yeah.
biggest cheater. Krishna
Yeah.
says that's not going to happen because I'm the biggest cheater. Right? That's your point.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
Well,
I love the way your mind works.
you know,
I
Krishna has made
absolutely
this
love it.
whole world. Krishna makes the material world just like, you know, it's like people in a spirit soul in the spiritual world, they all feel love for Krishna and they only want Krishna to be happy. And how can they participate in that Krishna's happiness? How can they serve? But as you know, in our
Well, yes,
philosophy,
there's a
there's
process. And in our next conversation, I would be glad to reveal to you what Srila Prabhupada directly revealed to me in such a way that I kept it to myself for decades, because it occurred to me that he revealed this to me for the right time in the history of devotional service of his disciples. Because if I revealed it right away, everybody would have pounced on it and go run off with it like a dog with a shoe in its mouth. As Prabhupada used that example. When the dog is sitting on the throne, he's quite satisfied. Then someone comes and throws a shoe into the room, and the dog goes wow, 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 and jumps off the throne, the king's throne, and grabs the item, and then demonstrates that he is not a pure devotee by any means. Does it make sense at all, Ishan Prabhu?
yes, of course.
I shouldn't talk too much. I want to hear what you have to say. And I hope you join us every time so that I can listen to your conclusions every time. I have a lot of conclusions myself, and I believe
I have no
incredibly and
conclusions.
impeccably well founded. But that
I'm
doesn't
just trying
mean
to
that I don't
understand
enjoy your
Srila
conclusions.
Prabhupada's
I
conclusion.
prefer your conclusions because
No,
they
I
are
don't.
new and fresh, and I have never
No, they're
heard them
not.
before. What did
No.
you just say, Prabhu? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I said I don't have any conclusions. I'm just trying to understand Srila Prabhupada's conclusion.
Well, that's, of course, the right thing to do.
I think
But
we
now,
would do better to
I've
read
made a
Srila
statement.
Prabhupada's books.
I don't know if you read the paper that I submitted last Sunday. Rupa Manjari Prabhu,
Yeah.
do you have that paper? I don't want to read the whole thing, just the first sentence. If you could read the first sentence of it, I would be appreciative.
Narayan Prabhu, what Ishan Prabhu is saying, it's better to read what Prabhupada is saying to
It's better to
understand.
what?
It's better to read what Prabhupada is saying
Than to do what?
than to say, oh, this is my conclusion, or this is mine, or that's I think.
Well, do you think that Prabhupada wanted us to listen to what he was saying and never understand his conclusions? We're supposed to understand Prabhupada's conclusions. And that's why
There's
it's
a
such a rare
process.
event. Rupa, did you
Srila
find that?
Prabhupada give us a process. Srila Prabhupada give us a
Did you read
process.
that, find that
We
quote
have-
yet?
No. Srila Prabhupada give us a process. We read from the book and then we share our understanding. This is, I think, the best way to go. It's what Srila Prabhupada has given us.
Right.
Hey, I'm a newcomer. to your sangha, to your gathering.
You're not a
But
newcomer, but newcomer means your statement certainly makes sense. So, and you've mentioned many things in your, like for example, you were talking about the kirtans. You said people were chanting different types of melodies, different types of kirtans, and Prabhupada immediately stopped that. And Narayan Prabhu also had the same experience.
Yeah. Srila
People
Prabhupada
used to make things up.
Srila Prabhupada explains in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya the process for chanting Hare Krishna in chapter 18. It's very, I think it's very interesting, and I think that many people do not understand. But Srila Prabhupada is explaining, Lord Chaitanya is explaining to Prakashananda Saraswati how he's becoming mad by chanting Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada says the process is, this is a quote, the process is that the spiritual master chants the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the mantra enters into the ear of the disciple. And if the disciple chants also with equal feeling, this becomes the worship of the holy name. So, therefore, and if you go to Sri Harinam Chintamani, it's explained that when the devotee, the disciple chants japa or chants Hare Krishna, he's always meditating on his guru, the pure devotee, so that he can learn from him what is the real feeling in which we chant Hare Krishna, because there's no other way to develop love for God. People think that they're thinking it's a linear process, that if I do this and I do this, one day I'll have some revelation. But it's not like that. It's not a linear process. Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is only a question of understanding and accepting. And one can be Krishna conscious in a second. So what is it, this understanding and accepting it, that the spiritual master is the transparent via media to see God? It means that why we see, like you see through a pair of glasses, he is a transparent via media, but we're seeing through God through Srila Prabhupada. The spiritual master is a transparent via media. But what is it that he has that we don't have, that we should see through him? He has love of Krishna, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Valochanena, that his eyes are smeared with the salve of love of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada explains that, well, I raised this point earlier, that association is like a crystal stone, that his love should be reflected. If my heart is pure, the mirror of the mind, the heart, then I can learn from him what is. So Srila Prabhupada writes in Nectar in Bhagavatam 1.5.25 that pure devotion is infectious in a good sense, just like an infectious disease. And he says, he explains, what is that infection that we get from the pure devotee? He says that you become infected means to imbibe or drink in absorb the taste of devotion in the association of the pure devotee. That's why he's saying that if the devotee hears from the spiritual master chanting and chants with the same feeling, that means becoming infected with to imbibe the taste of the. There's no other way to learn what love of God is. This is the intimate relationship, heart to heart, with the pure devotee, the bona fide spiritual master. So because I'm only speaking like this because someone is raising the question or the point of how we're chanting Hare Krishna. How can we chant any other way than Srila Prabhupada is chanting when he's teaching us how to chant?
Well, yes, but don't you notice the
Meditating
people?
on him, and we're meditating on him when
How
he's
many
chanting.
people do you know that chant
When-
the way Prabhupada chants?
I don't know any. I'm talking about the process in our, as described, the science of Krishna
I know,
consciousness.
but the process requires pronunciation, grammar, alliteration. It requires
No.
melody.
No, Srila Prabhupada says all of that, he explains in Bhagavatam that that's not important. What's important
not
is
important?
to understand. Grammar is not important.
What
Pronunciation
is not
is
important?
not
Say that
important.
again.
Nothing
What
is
is not
important.
important?
The only thing is important is to understand that Srila Prabhupada has love for Krishna, and we have to learn from him what is that by opening our hearts to him. And if we're incapable, if we can't pronounce, doesn't matter. What is important is sincerity of the heart and to understand like that. That's my understanding of our philosophy.
Okay, may I share a thing that I posted at one point?
Of course.
Yes, sure. Go
Who
ahead.
am I?
Okay. I wrote, surrendering to Srila Prabhupada in the form of his transcendental sound vibration is more radical than 99% of those who took direct initiation from him, even in 1966.
I'm
Then
going to get out.
in response that this you're showing personal bias, mental speculation. I write, this is the last thing I'm going to read. Yes, my personal bias is that Srila Prabhupada is the initiation acharya for the next 10,000 years. Any other Siddhanta will lead to nouveau materialistically trapped church similar to the totally materially trapped Catholic Church that the Yuga Avatar rendered meaningless and without any spiritual authority, meaning Lord Chaitanya. So do you agree with that statement?
It's a little bit too complicated for me, but maybe put in your own words.
Okay. What I'm essentially saying is that 99.9% of the people who were initiated by Prabhupada and heard Prabhupada did not agree to surrender to his sound vibration. They immediately, or almost immediately, starting in 1970, as you yourself probably experienced, they started putting out their own melodies. When Prabhupada heard them doing that, he had the kirtan stopped and then wanted kirtan with his melodies to be done without adding or subtracting from his kirtan style. But for Prabhupada, it's not just style, it is access to Krishna's lotus feet, that they were deliberately getting rid of their opportunity for access to Krishna's lotus feet because they wanted to chant themselves in their own way, like a rock and roll band, more than an attempt to surrender to Prabhupada. Does that resonate with you at all?
So this means that you don't understand the philosophy. They don't understand the science of Krishna consciousness. Of course, they'll get some benefit from chanting Hare Krishna.
Wouldn't you
they
say
will
that's
not develop
almost universal?
Well,
How many
I
people
read
do
you
you
the
know? that
Didn't I
refused to
read you
chant
from
any
Bhagavad Gita?
melody
Didn't I
except
read you
Prabhupada's
from Bhagavad
melody.
Gita? Didn't I
Huh?
read you from Bhagavad Gita what Srila Prabhupada said? If one person becomes a real devotee, he'll consider the whole thing a success. He did not expect that they would understand, and he knew they were not qualified to be
So
initiated.
what are you saying?
But
That
he gave
Prabhupada didn't care about the people that didn't pick it up?
No, he cared. That's why he gave them initiation, out of kindness.
Yeah.
Give
And
him
once
a
he gave
chance.
them
And he
initiation,
said, I was in the room with Srila Prabhupada and they were talking about what is this atonement, prayaschitta. And Srila Prabhupada said, atonement means read my book.
okay.
Books.
And then in
So
another
they're not
place he said,
understanding
read my
these
books.
things that were
And the conclusion to draw from reading my books is that you will chant.
from reading my books is that you will chant under the guidance in the association of the pure devotee and imbibe the taste of devotion in his association.
Okay, so how do we get
and
that
cultivate
association into the public
hang on.
arena?
You're not letting me finish.
Do you know what?
I'm talking, this is the science of Krishna consciousness. I'm only repeating what's in our book. And so what they did and what they didn't do, well, it has nothing to do with you or me. Each person is responsible. They'll have to live with what they're doing and what they're not doing. But I'm trying to focus on what is the real business that I have to do, you have to do, we have to do. Who cares about it? Who has time to think about what they're doing, what they're not doing? The hell with them all. We wish them well, but if they don't want to know, that's all another story. But so that we're trying to talk about what is the process. Srila Prabhupada says that if we want to go forward, we have to immediately and repeatedly, I'm quoting the book now, immediately and repeatedly, continually talk about what is this science of Krishna consciousness and how we go forward. Well, we know, but it's not, look what happened Gaudiya Ma. And he said the same thing has happened in ISKCON. It's to be expected. This is the material world. But what about you and me? What do we want? Go forward and let's talk about how we can go forward. That's my point. That's all.
So
Okay,
just
can you hear me, Ishan?
yeah, now we can hear you. Yeah, Narayan
Okay.
Prabhu, try to when Ishan Prabhu is speaking, try to let him finish, and then you can reply, because when two people speak, it doesn't go anywhere. Narayan Prabhu.
Well, as a matter of fact, Prabhupada himself, when someone was speaking, he would interject if he had a vital point to discuss
Yeah.
with them.
That's fine, but
if you keep muting me and Ishan keeps talking, then we don't get to at least maybe everyone but me gets some benefit. But the thing is that I want to see the interaction produce Siddhanta, or what's to be done next in Krishna consciousness movement.
so please at least try to listen when Ishan Prabhu is speaking. Then
I do listen. I listen to every word.
because Ishan Prabhu himself said that you're not letting him finish. So I'm just making the point that please allow him to finish.
So how will I know when he finishes?
Well, he will stop when he makes a statement, and then you can comment.
He doesn't stop.
Oh,
Neither do I. Neither do you.
So
Now I will stop.
no, I'm saying stop. So
let's work on communication.
yes, so the communication, when two people speak, it's not clear. It doesn't come out
Okay,
clear.
so Ishan, can you make a complete statement to which you want me to respond?
No, I'm just trying to speak our philosophy, and some will respond, some will not respond, and we're all free to be who we are. I'm not trying to convince you of anything.
Go ahead, Narayan Prabhu. You wanted to ask him a question. So if you can ask him a question and he can reply.
Okay. You say you're not trying to convince me of anything.
No.
I cannot understand that, because it's our job, our task on planet Earth, not to convince everyone that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that we are all, including ants, insects, birds, animals, we're all part and parcel of Krishna, and we all belong in Krishna Loka with Krishna in a swarup that would be based on devotional service.
If you want me to convince you of something, I'll try.
Well, what do you want to convince me of?
Well,
Should I
want
say,
to convince
before you start, try to convince me of something that you think I do not understand, that you do understand. Okay?
I
Go
think
ahead.
you understand everything. I think you
What?
understand everything, and there's nothing you need to hear from me. Nothing. I think you know what you have to do. I think you know that you want to become a pure devotee. I think you
Okay,
know
fine.
all these things.
Okay, may I say something, Ishan?
Yes, Narayan Prabhu, go ahead.
Okay, the purpose of this League for 10K is the League for 10,000 years. Our philosophy of this site and this program is so that people will become starved for the opportunity to deliver everyone from repeated birth and death by learning how to hear Prabhupada's original sound vibration coming from his lotus lips. And that's all. I don't have any other goal. What is your goal?
I'm trying to become a devotee one day at a time. I'm trying
your goal is-
I'm trying to have a more close relationship with my spiritual master, with Srila Prabhupada, so that one day I can be able to serve him properly. This is what my goal.
Yeah, but you're 78 years old, I believe. So how much of this will you accomplish before you leave your body?
Well, I'm very slow. I'm just trying in my own small way how to come closer to Srila Prabhupada so that he can guide me.
Okay, do you feel compassion for those devotees who have taken initiation, who have not understand the points that you've been making and some of the points that I've been making? Feel compassion for them.
Well, that's why I'm speaking, because I want to share my little understanding. That's the only way I can show compassion.
Okay. So how far does that go?
How far it goes is depends on how pure my heart is and how much other people want to hear. Of course, I don't blame if people don't want to hear from me, because who am I? I'm a conditioned soul, But still, I'm trying in my own small way.
Well, how many conditioned souls do you think there are?
I don't know. This is one universe, and our books tell us, Srila Prabhupada explains there's countless trillions of universes, and in each universe, so But
Okay,
actually, Srila Prabhupada wants us to cultivate a mood where we have affection and wish everyone the best we can. And that means
okay,
we
that's
wish
nice.
everyone to become a devotee. We wish everyone to be.
Yeah,
So when we
yeah.
chant Hare Krishna,
I mean, everybody
like
is a
Haridas,
devotee. Isn't every single jiva basically a devotee who's under the illusion that he has a body?
I think that's right. That's our understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, how many jivas are you committed to bringing back to Godhead by the end of 10,000 years?
Don't be silly. Don't be silly, Narayan. I'm just trying to be. I'm trying
Well,
to
you
be
chant
Srila
very
Prabhupada's
beautifully. I relish your chanting.
No, don't be silly. I'm a conditioned soul. The first step in this long journey back to Godhead is to understand that I'm not this body. I haven't even come to that point. And that's a neophyte position, Srila Prabhupada explained in his book.
Well, I didn't
To
catch what you just.
understand
What did you just say? I
the
didn't
first,
catch it.
the first step in our spiritual advancement is to become liberated from the idea that I'm this body. I have not met any of my godbrothers, including myself, who is a liberated soul yet. And even that is only a neophyte position, Srila Prabhupada says. So how neophyte are we?
Okay. But you know that you're not your body, right?
No, I don't know. To know you're not the body means no more hunger, no more thirst, no more desire for comfort, no more concern of hot and cold, no more, none of these things. What to speak in next step, no more care, honor, dishonor, who likes me, who doesn't like me. There's a liberated stage, just the very beginning of Krishna consciousness, and I'm not on that platform yet.
So what platform do you feel you are on right now?
The lowest, basic, just trying to become Srila Prabhupada's student. Just trying to start.
But when you
just
listen,
trying to.
Okay, go ahead.
Just trying to begin. But I believe from
Okay.
everything I read that Srila Prabhupada is telling us. You were talking about the two birds in the heart, the eating bird.
Yes.
And the what's the other bird? And the witnessing bird. Krishna, a super soul witnessing bird, watching us. And the eating bird, he's turned his back on Krishna, trying to enjoy independence. Well, and we're saying that he's waiting for us to turn to him, to live always under his guidance. Well, Srila Prabhupada explained that the spiritual master is the external manifestation of that Lord in the heart. So turning to him for guidance, our guidance, at every step of our life, this is the same as turning to the Lord in the heart. So learning to live in that way.
So may I ask a question? In your next birth, you want to start out where you leave off, wherever that is, in your present lifetime. Do you want to start off your spiritual life from the point you're at now or later in this birth?
Well, my understanding is that whether I want it or not, that's the way it works.
I don't get it. I don't understand what you just said.
We have no choice in the matter. We will continue from where we leave off. That's my
Okay.
understanding of our
Do you have any
philosophy.
astrological calculation of how many more years you will be in your present body?
I have no interest in that kind of thing, astrology.
Okay, so just a rough idea. How many more years do you really think you would be comfortable and happy being in your present body?
I have no idea. How can I know such a thing? Today might mean I might not wake up tomorrow morning. We Srila Prabhupada
Exactly.
tells us that.
So-
If Krishna
so-
wants me alive, no one can kill me. If Krishna wants to put me out of my body, no one can save me.
You're
But,
always alive. You're never going to not be alive.
Okay.
The sense of being alive is the understanding by the jiva that he's not the body. The minute that the jiva thinks he's the body, then he dies. Everybody weeps at the funeral, and he takes off to become another jiva, embodied jiva in a different womb of a different human or other species, dog, cat, or whatever he adored the most.
I'm still on that platform. I'm still on that platform. I think I'm this body.
Which platform?
The platform you're describing, I identify with this body as
Okay.
me.
Then I accept that that's what you're saying and that's what you believe. Now, my question
I don't
again
believe
is,
it. Not I
what do you-
believe, it's how
what do
I
you want
feel.
your, I'm sorry?
I don't believe I'm this body. It's how I feel. I accept our philosophy that I'm not this body, but I have not had that realization.
That you're not your body?
I have not had that realization. I still respond to heat and cold. I still respond to hunger and thirst.
You never had such a scary experience as a child that it sort of knocked you out of your body?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. So, what I would like to ask, what consciousness would you like to be in, leaving your present body and entering your next body?
Krishna
I'd
consciousness.
I'd like to feel
What sort of
heartfelt
Krishna
that
consciousness? Krishna consciousness, in its rudimentary sense, it's just some words. Krishna consciousness, what is that? It means nothing, really, unless you have an insight or realization to go with it.
Hare Krishna Prabhus and His Holiness and wonderful Prabhupada disciples. I'm really fortunate to be around personalities who have actually touched Prabhupada. So that's like really
So I would like
once in a
to
rare
honor
time.
you for that point
Yeah.
of view.
I wanted.
That's
I
exactly
have
my
to
same point of
cut
view.
it short. But I will be with you guys on Sunday. I promise.
Good, good.
I
And
tell
Ishan
you,
Prabhu and
Could
if
you
you're
just
there
state-
too, so you can
Could
answer
you
my
just state
question.
your name, Prabhu, so I'll recognize it on Sunday?
Nitai.
Nitai. My
Yes, sir.
obeisances to you, Nitai.
My obeisances to you too, Narayan ji, Prabhu. And
Hare Krishna.
Ishan Prabhu, yeah, please let me know next time you're there.
You've
Like,
got to
what
be
your
there on
parents-
Sunday.
Yeah, or
This
what your parents
conversation is
said.
far from over.
Yeah, yes. Okay, Haribol, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Jai Prabhu.
there are
Jai
no
Nitai, Jai Prabhupada.
no senior devotees.
All
There are no
glories.
senior devotees. This is not a caste system. A person can
Yeah, we're all
come here
neophytes
and
forever.
in 1 week be more advanced than all of us.
Yeah.
There are no senior devotees.
Haribol.
Only
That
near-
simply means
Oh,
accepting the truth that Prabhupada, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that Krishna, Prabhupada, is his direct conscious messenger. So that when you hear Prabhupada's sound vibration, you're connected with Krishna. And if you hear somebody else's melody being chanted, somebody else diluting the philosophy, then that's not Prabhupada.
That means a lot.
You think that's
that
okay?
Prabhupada is directly, Krishna is directly coming from Prabhupada.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I've been trying to go with Ishan, is to find out when he first heard Prabhupada, what did he get from that? And was he ever tempted to play or sing melodies that Prabhupada himself had not introduced?
Are you asking me a question?
Yes, that's a
Yes.
question. Yes.
Repeat the question, please.
Narayan Prabhu just asked that the kirtans that Prabhupada sung in his what is it called? What is it called? The beats? No, the tunes. Did you ever have any inclination to chant anything that your spiritual masters did not chant? Tunes, Mardanga style, cartels, like this.
Did I ever have inclination to do different? Is
Yes.
that the question?
Yes.
No, I don't have inclination to do different.
Hari Bol. There's your answer, Narayan Prabhu. He answered it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
like-
does that mean, can I understand then that you have never chanted melodies that did not originate with Srila Prabhupada directly?
Sometimes I'm in the temple and these other people are singing Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol. I know Srila Prabhupada doesn't want it. But I was in the temple, so sometimes I go along with the crowd. Even Srila Prabhupada went along with it, even though he didn't teach us to sing these things.
Or like it?
So sometimes you do things just to get on, just to be part of the family. But the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, aside from what we do and don't do, aside from what we feel and don't feel, the philosophy is that we should, not a question of melody, it's a question of heart. We're learning from Srila Prabhupada, not music. We're learning from Srila Prabhupada what is love of Krishna. And only that is what we were trying to say.
Well, how do you detect love of Krishna in Prabhupada's chanting?
That is explained. Infection by Srila Prabhupada in his books. I can quote if you want. I have been quoting. I can repeat.
What you you got from hearing Prabhupada.
Not what I got. It's not important what I got. I'm talking about the science of Krishna consciousness. I'm not here to talk about myself.
Ishan,
Okay.
I'm here to yeah.
Ishan Prabhu, I'm very much relishing everything that you're saying. I really see in you great humility and service to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
I agree.
No, I'm just
And
another
I think
I see the same thing. It's like coming from the heart and it's genuine.
And I think that you made a good suggestion that we should read from the books when we have this meeting, at least for some of it, just dedicate some time to listening to the happening record, some time to read a verse and citation
Bringing
and
Prabhupada in the
purport.
presence.
But this is all stimulates the intellect. I recommend the happening record.
Yeah, well, let's do the happening record and then a reading and then a discussion, like he was saying.
Well, we're not doing classes here. We're projecting how to make the bulk of people Krishna conscious, not just ourselves. We can read books alone or in a crowd of
come up with
people. There's no
timestamps
problem with
and
that. The problem that we're facing is not having a plan that goes beyond our own lifetimes. That's what the League for 10K is, how to make a plan that goes beyond our own lifetime so that people in 100 years or 1,000 years or 5,000 years will be also doing what you recommend, which is reading from Prabhupada's books.
Yeah,
But that's
so
not the
Ishan,
platform for, that's not the platform for the League for 10K, unless there's a quote in those books that project us into past our own lifetimes.
well,
Not
I
just
think we should
theoretically.
find, we should
Really
find,
strong statement.
Otherwise, what the League for 10K will just turn into another Prabhupada Nuga classroom,
I'm sorry.
which is nice.
It's
But that's not
simple.
what our,
We
that's not
are
for us. We could
Probably-
have another, we should have another
Extension, yeah.
platform for doing classes. But I'm too old for that. I need to see,
Narayan Prabhu, can you let Rupa Manjari Prabhu speak, please?
sure,
Rupa, go ahead.
Okay.
Complete, Rupa, please.
I would like Ishan to come regularly to these meetings. And he's saying that he would like to see readings from Shastra and then responses to the readings. And considering that this is a time block of 2 hours, I think that's plenty of time to do play the Happening album for 10 minutes and then do readings for maybe half an hour. And then the next hour just discussion, something like that.
Okay, okay. So Narayan Prabhu specifically wants to have a Ishtagoshti discussion. So one program we can have for Narayan Prabhu, and then there can be another program which would give more engagement to devotees, where they can come for specifically reading and discussion of Prabhupada's books. So certainly there can be two programs. Do you think?
Because I think Ishan Prabhu is a saint, and we should try to get as much of his association as possible.
Okay, so we can implement that, let's have a discussion, and then, there can be the Ishtagoshi program, and there can be a separate program where once a week we can have a discussion based on Prabhupada's books. I don't think, there's any problem with that. Rupa, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay, Narayan Prabhu, can you unmute yourself and then speak? We still cannot hear you.
can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so you can't unmute me where you are?
No, I cannot unmute you. You have to, when I mute you, then you have to unmute yourself.
Who muted me?
I muted you.
You can mute but not unmute?
Yes, I can mute but not unmute. Yes, because that would be controlling your computer basically. I can block people and mute people, but I cannot unmute them. Okay, go ahead, Nara.
Fine. So that gives you something like the power of tyrants, right?
Yeah, more or less. Someone who speaks too much, or someone who's speaking and making a point.
I'd like to speak to Ishan.
Hare Krishna, go ahead, Rupa.
Ishan Prabhu, I would like you to come regularly to our meetings. And I think that your idea of doing some readings each time is a really good one. And that if we were to do that, would you be interested in coming back and being a participating member of our group?
I'm a little bit intimidated, but I don't want to be involved in controversy, but there's a flavor that is a little bit frightening for me that here, but
Well, Ishan, we
I would
love
like to
you,
discuss-
and we'd like you to come back every time. In fact, we'd like to create another. Why not, Rupa? Why don't we consider creating another evening where it's based on Ishan and reading from Prabhupada, whatever teachings that Ishan wants to see read from?
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting. Yes, Rupa, would that be
So
okay?
it'd be a third program, and Rupa could run it, and Ishan
Yes.
could be the chief.
speaker.
I think it should be Sunday, the day that I do the moderating.
Okay, so let's do it on Sunday then.
Well, then we will have to make Sunday into something else because we have, right now, I'm very concerned. My chief concern now is that we are able to get to the simple point. And that is, I've made that simple point and made it publicly, and I'm challenging someone on Facebook with this. And that is the single point is how many people understood, even marginally, when hearing Prabhupada for the first time and hearing Prabhupada through their Diksha directly given by Prabhupada, how many people understood that Prabhupada's sound vibration from his mouth was coming from Krishna in Krishna Loka, and how many of them just thought, oh, this is a group, and now my pals want me to become a devotee, so I'll take initiation, sort of thing. You see
Okay,
what I'm saying?
we have 1 more minute till we are over for the night.
Well, do we
Okay,
have
now
any,
10 o'clock.
Ramachandra, do we have any comments or questions online?
There is, but we'll go over it next time. So what I will do here,
No, Rupa can cut out, and let's do them this time. I thought we made a vow that if someone has a question, they cannot have it unanswered during that our program.
so what I will do is I will coordinate with Ishan Prabhu, Rupa, or you can coordinate with Ishan Prabhu and make a program where, you know, we can do a similar meeting with Ishan, you, myself, and whoever else wants to come, and we can read
Yeah.
from the introduction of Prabhupada's books all the way to the end of Prabhupada's Gita or whatever book Ishan Prabhu thinks is best to start. Is that okay?
Yeah. Ishan, what book would you like to start with? Gita?
I haven't, what book? I think we should all decide together what other people feel they would like to hear from, not just what
I
I
have a
think,
question.
you know.
If I could ask.
Okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
Time.
So Narayan Prabhu, what melodies and tunes is he referring to? And sorry, and is the songs that Bhakti Vinod Agni Dev sings from Bhakti Vinod, is that bona fide or is that not good?
Not bona fide, not good.
Like from his book and all that? No, Shranagati.
Agni, does he chant sounds that he only got by hearing Prabhupada and replicating it, just as a disciple would replicate the words and sound vibration of the spiritual master? Does he only act as a disciple, which means exact repetition of the spiritual master, or does he want to do his own thing? Of course, that was a
Understood.
question. Am I blocked?
No?
Okay, so what do you want to know? What would you like, Agni Dev? Does Agni Dev need to do to establish his bona fides as a genuine inner circle disciple of Srila Prabhupada? And where does he get his sound vibration from? Does he get it from Prabhupada, channeling, as we can say, Krishna? Or does he just do whatever melody he likes of his own creation or stuff like that?
Yeah,
Which I do not accept that at all.
Yeah, he gets it. He got it from Bhakti Vinod's book, but the Prabhupada said, do not read other Acharya's books because you'll misunderstand it and everything.
Yeah, so I mean, why would somebody do what Prabhupada said not to do?
Yeah.
Essentially, we should not try. Prabhupada also said, try not to jump over spiritual master.
Okay,
And,
Ramachandra, why don't you put up the comments and
Sure.
go through those and then get out of here.
Sounds good. 1 second here. Let me put it up.
But we'll answer the comments tonight, right?
No, it's comments and let's see what I haven't taken a look.
Online, what you normally get comments or questions online. We've vowed to answer them even if we have to go past 10.
Okay, Rupa, can you?
Rupa doesn't have to stay because she likes to quit at 10.
That's fine. Okay, Rupa, can you read it through? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure, thanks.
Aristophanes says, citation source, Getting Spiritual Guidance book, Civilization and Transcendence, page 40, paragraphs 2 and 3. Moses Singleton says, when he realized that he could not make the correct decision and surrendered to Sri Krishna on the battlefield for advice on what to do, that is when the teacher and disciple relationship dynamic began. Aristophanes says, based upon the aforementioned, we must have a guru, and there is only one real guru, that is His Grace, Srila Prabhupada.
John.
Moses Singleton says, there's no difficulty in understanding this. Aristophanes says, is this
Aristophanes.
Is this accurate, Narayan?
Say it again.
Is this accurate, Narayan?
Is what accurate?
What he's saying.
Well, what is he saying?
Moses Singleton says, Aristophanes, that is correct.
Aristophanes, it's the same.
Aristophanes says, Hare Krishna, my obeisances to you. It popped out. There it is.
Okay, is what true? You're asking a question.
These are comments, Narayan Prabhu. We're going off comments. We're not going to make it any longer than another 5-10 minutes. So
okay, so what are the comments?
Rupa, can you continue, please?
Moses Singleton says, Aristophanes, that is correct. Aristophanes says, Hare Krishna, my obeisances to you and all Prabhus in attendance this evening. Moses Singleton says, Aristophanes, Haribol, peace and blessings. Aristophanes says, Haribol. Aristophanes says, thank you, Moses Singleton. Hare Krishna, Jai Sri Krishna.
This is important to do. Okay. By the way, is it Aristophanes we're talking about?
Yeah.
Can we pronounce it Aristophanes?
Yeah.
Okay, because otherwise it's not pleasant to have a mispronounced name from the hearer. Okay, keep going.
Aristophanes says, if a devotee recognizes there is deeply offensive acts being carried out in one's given career, charging interest on loans, ignoring dangerous side effects of so-called AMA, FDA-approved drugs, treatments, unjust enrichments, etc., are we encouraged to flee from that career and become an isolated devotee?
Well, I can answer. May I answer that, or do you want to answer that?
Simple living, high thinking.
Yeah. Well, the point is, Thakur Bhaktivinoda was a magistrate for the British. Does that degrade him because he had to function as a magistrate, put people in jail, get them out of jail, etc.? He functioned in the world in which he was. So if you're going to be making money or stuff like that, you can do it as long as it doesn't involve cow slaughter or something of that sort. But I mean, that's your career. Do your career. Then when you get on this program here, switch into the gear of how to deliver every single jiva by the end of the next 10,000 years. That's our topic on this program. Okay, keep going.
Aristophanes says, Srila Prabhupada's guidance tells me that we are 100% responsible for making moral, righteous decisions that please Krishna and to safeguard all Krishna conscious devotees.
Well, yes.
Then he says, thank you, Moses Singleton. Then he says, indeed, Krishna has saved my life and I love Krishna. Healing from Krishna comes in manifold ways.
Okay, that's nice.
Moses Singleton says that is correct. And if we are fully surrendered, he will provide the necessary guidance in order to make those righteous moral decisions.
Exactly. That's excellent. That means
Eris-
Paramatma becomes the guide and not simply the orders. Paramatma is either a slave type order supplier where you command that he delivers, or he gives advice. When he gives advice, that means you've surrendered. The way Prabhupada did, make me dance like a puppet. That Moses Singleton has hit the nail right on the head. Okay, next.
Aristophanes says Krishna is the great teacher beyond any mere human. Moses Singleton says also correct, but we must be humble and receptive to that guidance. Aristophanes says Hare Krishna. Moses Singleton says Hare Krishna. Aristophanes says Krishna has given us all things necessary to return to Godhead. As a student, herbalist, homeopath, and natural practitioner, I see firsthand the infinite intelligence of Krishna manifested in every creation. Moses Singleton says absolutely 100%.
Yeah. So that
Aristophanes says
conversation
Hare
between
Krishna.
them was wonderful, but it didn't really involve us very much, did it? It was their conversation with each other, and it was wonderful. I think it was an incredible, both Aristophanes and Moses Singleton.
Go ahead, Rupa. We're going to wind this up.
Aristophanes is being saddened over someone's passing from this life selfish. Saurav Sohu says, can Narayan Prabhu explain what happened to Vishnu Jan Maharaj? Did he meet with him where he disappeared?
That's for later. You come back and ask that.
Moses Singleton says, no, the grief is natural, but if one is wise, he or she does not hold on to sad grief, fully understanding the immortality of the soul. One should not lament for the living or the dead. Aristo says, Hare Krishna. He says, thank you, Moses Singleton. Haribo. Moses Singleton says, you're welcome. Believe it or not, but knowing this truth lessens the grief one may feel at the loss of a loved one. Aristo says, Jai. Moses Singleton says, Haribo, peace and blessings to Rupa as well. Jai. Ishan Das, Narayan Das ki Jai. Moses Singleton says, the CIA infiltrated the movement from the very beginning, but it still could not stop what Prabhupada began, and its effects are still being felt today. Moses Singleton says, why? Because it's Sri Krishna's will. There's a lot of comments.
Yeah, we're down to the end, Rupa. Just hang in there. Can you finish it up? Just wind it up.
Aristo says, Sri Krishna explains that beyond the eightfold prakriti, the material energy, which is, he says, is inferior, there exists another that is far more superior. This energy is completely transcendental as compared to the lifeless matter. It is his spiritual energy, the Jiva Shakti, which includes all the living souls of the world. Aristophanes says, now, he has moved from explaining material science toward the spiritual realm. Moses Singleton says that is the spiritual nature. Aristophanes says this means that the spirit soul journey is a perpetual through reincarnation until we return to Godhead. Moses Singleton says correct. Aristophanes says, thus, becoming a pure devotee is not as simple as being a Krishna conscious. Rather, it is becoming the completed pure soul that allows us to return fully complete to Godhead. Therefore, if one's isolation away from the material world is necessary, is this acceptable to Krishna? Moses Singleton, yes, but also becoming a pure devotee so that we may be used as an instrument in Sri Krishna's service on the way back home, back to Godhead. Aristophanes says, a hermit's existence. Is this almost done?
Yeah, we're about done, Rupa. Just here. Okay, so I can read. Aristo Prabhu is saying, chanting, prasadam, and book distribution are the basis of Srila Prabhupada's guidance. Isn't it so? Moses Singleton, isolation may be helpful to some, but for others that may not be possible. Therefore, we have to allow ourselves to be used by Krishna while in the world, but not of it. Peter Prabhu saying, yes, that is the Brahma Bhuta stage, very advanced, and only the first steps. Arishta Prabhu understood. Arishta Prabhu Hari Bol, Arishta Prabhu Hari Krishna. Peter Prabhu, step. I consider myself most fallen and have a long way to go. And Arishta Prabhu saying, I am but a lowly spirit soul seeking the absolute truth and the path back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. That is correct, Rupa. Arishta Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's 1966 Kirtan recording is the best. All right. So we're done with the comments. We'd like to thank Narayan Prabhu, Ishan Prabhu, Rupa, Nitai, and all our viewers. Narayan Prabhu, thank you. So what we'll try to do, I'll coordinate with Ishan Prabhu and try to get something going. Rupa, please hang in there.
Yes, yes, yes.
We will make something happen. So Ishan Prabhu, I think, is
To
ready.
make a third meeting, not take over one of our existing meetings.
Yeah, we'll try to do a third meeting. Yes.
All right, no, we have to do it.
Yes.
Because our existing meetings are our exact mission of the League for 10K.
Sure. Yes. Yes. So we'll do a third meeting with Ishan Prabhu as the guest speaker, and we can read and then discuss. That'll be great. So, okay, Ishan Prabhu, thank you, Prabhu. Any concluding words, Ishan Prabhu? Thank you very much. Narayan Prabhu, can you summarize it in a few words?
Summarize what?
Okay. Okay.
Now, what do you want me to summarize?
So summarize the whole program that we had, a wonderful program with you, your god brother. So it's wonderful.
Today?
Yes.
I think it's just the very beginning of outreach. Supposing one man reaches out and another man reaches out, it may take quite a while before there's a genuine connection. So we're at that early stage of reaching out to one another as spirit soul, as devotees, as disciples of Prabhupada, which is not so easy. My whole point in everything is to say people have not become disciples of Prabhupada yet. They need to become disciples by hearing Prabhupada in that 1966 recording.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So we will see everyone on Sunday. And if we have another program this week, we'll send out an invitation separately, but it will be there going on live.
That will be wonderful.
Ishan
Okay.
Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, he's here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I just want to thank you so much for coming onto the group and sharing your realizations and your quotes from Shastra were really appreciated.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
And would you be interested in joining another group where we do readings and talk about the readings?
With him as the key person.
Yes. Yes, we'll do that. I'm sure he will be very delighted to participate.
You're saying yes, but what does Ishan say?
Let's talk, and we'll talk. And I don't want necessarily, I just want a simple program.
Sure. Yes, we'll talk. Like you said, Prabhu, Ishan Prabhu, we'll have a conversation about it. All right? Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Okay.